You might recognize this woman. She has become one of the most famous hikers of all time. She grew up poor on a farm with 15 siblings, escaped a brutal husband whose beatings left her beyond recognition, famously navigated a 2,000-mile-long trail without a map or tent or sleeping bag, and was the first woman to hike it alone, and at the age of 67. Her name is Grandma Gatewood, and this is the story of how she became a hiking icon.
I may hike parts of it, but I don't think I'll do the whole thing again.
Emma Gatewood was raised in Southeast Ohio in the late 1800s. When she was 19, she married a school teacher and tobacco farmer named P.C. Gatewood, a man who at the time seemed decent but would later be convicted of manslaughter for beating another man to death with the end of a shotgun. Just a few months into their marriage, P.C. hit Emma for the first time. Her husband used hoes, brooms, and fire pokers, broke her teeth and ribs. And in 1940, after 30 years of marriage and 11 children, she finally filed for divorce.
Every time PC, her husband, would lose his temper and assault her, she would run off and hide in the woods. For her, nature was refuge. It was an escape from abuse.
After the divorce, she started walking through the hills and spending nights outdoors. She read and wrote poetry.
She was constantly writing about her life. She'd write on calendars, she would write on the back of napkins, receipts.
In one of her poems called The Reward of Nature, she wrote,
"If you will go with me to the mountains and sleep on the leaf-carpeted floors and enjoy the bigness of nature and the beauty of all out of doors, you will find your troubles all fading, for the love of nature is healing if we will only give it a try."
Emma first heard about the Appalachian Trail while sitting in a doctor's office reading a National Geographic magazine. The 1949 article described it as 2,000 miles of mountain hopping through 14 states, 8 national forests, and 2 national parks. She wanted to attempt it. Emma started walking every day around the block until she could walk 10 miles a day. She did not have any survival skills nor backpacking experience. Keep in mind this was way before the internet, and by 1955 it is estimated less than 10 other people had actually thru-hiked the Appalachian Trail. So researching other hikers' experiences simply was not possible. In 1955, backpacking gear was limited to more post-World War II military-style rucksacks and food rations. Emma was also poor, so she sewed herself a denim sack to carry her food and a few other carefully chosen items.
She brought nothing, no tent, no sleeping bag. She had a blanket, she had a shower curtain to keep the rain off, a dress in case she had to walk through town.
Her first aid kit consisted of Band-Aids, iodine, bobby pins, and Big Sap ointment. For food, she packed Vienna sausages, bouillon cubes, raisins, peanuts, and powdered milk. Some extras included a knife, flashlight, and a pen and journal. She wore dungarees and tennis shoes. She arrived at Jasper, Georgia and started the trail from the summit of Mount Oglethorpe on May 3, 1955. At the time, the Appalachian Trail was new, having only been completed 8 years prior and with many sections incomplete, vaguely marked, and poorly maintained. Emma lost the trail often. She also had poor eyesight. She broke her glasses more than once, and she'd continue nearly blind until she got to a town where she could fix or replace them. On top of all of this, Emma could not swim, which made river crossing difficult. She'd wait for other hikers to come by or balance across fallen trees. She later told Sports Illustrated, "I would never have started this trip if I had known how tough it was, but I couldn't and I wouldn't quit." She would restock in towns and then relied on what she could find foraging in the wild. Things like sassafras, peppermint, and spearmint leaves, wild strawberries, and other wild berries. Despite the National Geographic article describing shelters to sleep in along the trail, they were few and far between, especially in 1955.
Instead, she slept on park benches, in sheds, abandoned logging camps, and strangers' porches.
And when these options were not available, her go-to was a pile of leaves. To keep warm, she'd sometimes sleep on a bed of warm rocks that she'd heated on the fire. Sometimes she treated herself to motels, and sometimes strangers were kind enough to welcome her into their homes and share hot meals with her.
She is this sort of fierce, independent person who can't be told what to do, who is a rugged individualist, but also relies often on the kindness of strangers. Ultimately, she was just tough as nails.
She experienced some terrifying accounts in Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. She once found herself on top of a mountain crawling over a stretch of icy rock sheets, blind and injured. One wrong move and she could have slid off. In addition, Hurricane Diane and Connie followed nearby, leaving her to hike in hard rains, winds, and flooding conditions. She kept moving forward without a clue.
When she came to Clarendon Gorge, she came to the creek at flood stage. She'd spent the night before with two boys who were on leave from the Navy. They couldn't find a safe spot to cross. So they decided to tie Grandma Gatewood in between them with parachute cord, and they held onto each other, and they put their packs on, and they crossed the river. And she wrote in her journal that the water came up to her chin, and she had to keep her eyes fixed on the sky. I tracked those guys down, and I said, "Do you remember that?" And he said, "I can't forget that because I still have nightmares about that day."
Word slowly spread across the country about this lady hiking the Appalachian Trail alone, and more reporters tried to get a chance to speak with her. She summited the iconic terminus of the Appalachian Trail on November 2nd, 1955. She had gone through 7 pairs of tennis shoes and sang the first verse of America the Beautiful, and famously said, "I've done it. I said I'll do it, and I've done it." After completion, Sports Illustrated, CBS News, the Associated Press, the Today Show, and other big newspapers and media outlets did stories on her. Emma's adventure had swept the country.
Your folks, what did they raise on the farm in addition to you?
Tobacco and corn and wheat and little cane.
Little cane?
In interviews, she openly talked about the poor trail conditions, calling it a nightmare. This attention led to a lot of improvements to the trail.
She told Sports Illustrated, and a Native American would laugh at this trail. Then she went back home and went right back to managing her, little trailer park that she was running, and started planning her next backpacking trip.
She went on to hike the Oregon Coast Trail in 1959, and returned back to hike the Appalachian Trail again in 1957, and again in 1964.
Not only was she the first woman to solo thru-hike, she was the first person to solo thru-hike twice, and the first person to ever complete a third thru-hike of the Appalachian Trails.
I enjoyed this one more because I knew the people, and they received me very kindly and entertained me royally and all that, and I got a big thrill out of it.
Emma also became a founding member of the Buckeye Trail Association.
She was known in her area for just walking everywhere, even if it was like 20 miles. Apparently for the Buckeye Trail Association meetings, which were established in Columbus, Ohio, she planned it out and just hiked to Columbus, about 100 or so miles. At least, yeah, she wanted to bring that experience to Ohio. Buckeye Trail is a loop around the entire state.
She died at the age of 83 in 1973 with 11 children, 54 grand and great-grandkids, solidifying her name and legacy as Grandma Gatewood, and an official state holiday, April 27th, is dedicated to her in Ohio. Grandma Gatewood has become a hiking legend. Her minimalist ethos, determination, and adventurous attitude have come to embody the hiking spirit.
In many ways, she was a pioneer, and there's something honorable about being the first, about being a trailblazer. And then the sense that if she could do it, 5'2", 140 pounds, 67-year-old woman, if she could do it, the rest of us can too.
If you liked this video and want to see more videos like this, we would really appreciate a like and for you to subscribe to our channel. And if you're interested in tasting the best backpacking meals on the planet, check out our 650-calorie Greenbelly meals at greenbelly.com. A big thank you to Ben Montgomery. He has a great book out called Grandma Gatewood's Walk.
No one had given Emma Gatewood serious biographical treatment. I think my mission was to sort of help establish her legacy.
And thanks to the Gatewood family for their help. Maureen and Caitlin currently run Gatewood Appalachia. You can find links to all of this in the description.